a world where the mere thought of meeting people, of stepping outside, fills you with dread? What if this is not just imagination, but reality for a growing number of young people? This is social anxiety, an issue that's casting a long, dark shadow over the lives of teenagers and young adults. Social anxiety is no mere shyness. It's a crippling fear that can make everyday activities a daunting task. It's a condition that can lead to a person feeling overwhelmed in social situations, resulting in feelings of inadequacy, inferiority, embarrassment, humiliation, and depression. Let's paint a picture. A teenager, let's call her Emma, is invited to a friend's birthday party. Emma's heart races, her palms sweat, she feels nauseous. She agonizes over the possibility of being judged, of saying something wrong. The thought of going to the party becomes so overwhelming that Emma decides to stay home. This is not an isolated incident. It's happening to a growing number of young people. According to recent studies, up to 10% of teenagers and young adults suffer from social anxiety disorder. This is more than a trend, it's a serious problem. It's an epidemic that's silently, but swiftly, sweeping through our society. It's stealing the joy of connection from our youth, leading them down a path of isolation and loneliness. We need to understand that social anxiety is not a character flaw or a personal failure. It's a mental health issue, and just like any other health issue, it needs to be addressed. The first step towards addressing social anxiety is understanding it. It's understanding that it's not just about being introverted or shy. It's a fear that can grip a person's life, dictating their every move. It's time we shine a light on the shadow of social anxiety. It's time we start talking about it. It's time we start understanding it. And most importantly, it's time we start helping those who are suffering from it. It's a silent epidemic, sweeping through our society, stealing the joy of connection from our youth. But what causes social anxiety? Why are so many of our young people falling prey to it? The answer is multifaceted, as the origins of social anxiety are complex and varied. It's a bit like a puzzle, with each piece playing its part in shaping the bigger picture. Firstly, let's consider our genes. Research indicates that if there's a history of social anxiety in your family, you may be more likely to develop it. Our genetic makeup can predispose us to certain conditions, and social anxiety is no exception. But genes aren't the whole story. Environmental factors also come into play. Experiences such as bullying or emotional abuse can sow the seeds of social anxiety. Even seemingly benign events, like being laughed at in public, can have lasting impacts. It's important to remember that our environments shape us, and for some, these experiences can lead to a heightened fear of social situations. Then there's personal temperament. Some individuals are naturally more introverted or more sensitive to their surroundings. This doesn't mean they'll definitely develop social anxiety, but it might make them more susceptible. And in our modern world, new factors are emerging. One such factor is social media. In a world of carefully curated posts and seemingly perfect lives, it's easy to feel inadequate or judged. We're constantly comparing ourselves to others, and this can fuel feelings of social anxiety. Increased academic pressure is another modern factor. The pressure to succeed, to be the best, can be overwhelming. And when you're constantly feeling scrutinized, it's no wonder social anxiety can take root. That said, it's important to note that not everyone who experiences these factors will develop social anxiety. It's a complex interplay of genetics, environment, and personal temperament, each contributing in its own unique way. The roots of social anxiety are complex and intertwined, making it a difficult foe to combat. But by understanding its causes, we can start to unravel the threads and find ways to help those affected. Social anxiety doesn't just stay confined to the mind, it spills over, affecting every aspect of a person's life. Imagine a ripple in a pond. The initial splash is akin to the onset of social anxiety, but the subsequent waves that spread outwards symbolize its far-reaching effects. It's not a solitary battle. It influences multiple facets of a person's existence. Let's start with academic performance. Social anxiety can create a barrier to effective learning. It's not easy to focus on algebra or Shakespeare when your mind is consumed by worries of being judged or embarrassed. Research suggests that students with social anxiety often underperform, not because they lack intellectual capacity, but because their anxiety hampers their ability to concentrate and participate fully in class. Then there's the effect on social relationships. Friendships, family ties, romantic relationships, all of these can become strained under the weight of social anxiety. People with this condition may withdraw, isolating themselves to avoid the discomfort of social interactions. This leads to a vicious cycle of loneliness and heightened anxiety. According to one study, over half the people with social anxiety report feeling dissatisfied with their relationships. And let's not forget the overall quality of life. When every social interaction feels like a battle, it's hard to find joy in the everyday. Activities that others take for granted, going to a party, starting a conversation, even simply shopping for groceries, can become sources of intense fear and stress. Research paints a stark picture. Individuals with social anxiety are significantly more likely to report a lower quality of life. But it's not just the individual who suffers. The ripples of social anxiety extend to their families, their communities, even society at large. Lost potential, strained relationships, decreased productivity, these are the collective costs we bear. It's clear that social anxiety doesn't just affect the individual, it impacts us all. The ripples spread far and wide, but by understanding and acknowledging these effects, we can start to generate waves of change. How can we help if we don't even recognize the problem? Understanding the signs of social anxiety is the first step towards intervention. Social anxiety often hides in plain sight, masquerading as shyness or introversion. However, it's important to distinguish between these. While shyness is a personality trait, social anxiety is a psychological disorder that can significantly disrupt a person's life. So, what are the signs we need to look for? One of the most common is an intense fear of social situations, especially those that involve unfamiliar people. This fear may be so strong that it interferes with work, school, or other activities. Another sign is the fear of being humiliated or embarrassed. This fear can lead to avoidance of social situations, creating a cycle of isolation that only fuels the anxiety. Physical symptoms can also signal social anxiety. These might include rapid heart rate, trembling, sweating, and nausea before or during social situations. Now, recognizing these signs is crucial, but it's only the first step. The next step is seeking professional help. Therapists and psychologists are trained to identify and treat social anxiety. Cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, is often the first line of treatment. It involves changing negative thought patterns and behaviors that contribute to anxiety. For some, medication may also be an option. Antidepressants, anti-anxiety drugs, and beta blockers can all be effective in managing the symptoms of social anxiety. However, these should always be used under the supervision of a healthcare professional. Remember, everyone's journey with social anxiety is unique. What works for one person might not work for another. Patience and persistence are key. And above all, it's crucial to approach the person with compassion and understanding. Social anxiety is not a choice. It's a condition that requires care, support, and professional intervention. By recognizing and addressing social anxiety, we can pave the way towards recovery. Let's do our part to break the cycle of fear and isolation and help our friends, family, or even ourselves step into the light of a happier, healthier life. At the Zenith Zone, we believe in fostering happiness and mental health. But how do we approach a problem as vast as social anxiety? We begin by embracing understanding. We strive to comprehend the intricate web of emotions, fears, and thoughts that entangle individuals suffering from social anxiety. No one is a textbook case. Each person has a unique story, and we commit ourselves to listen to those stories, to understand the individual nuances, and to empathize with the struggles faced. Empathy is the next cornerstone of our approach. It's not just about sympathizing with a person's situation. It's about walking a mile in their shoes. It's about feeling the tremors of anxiety when a public speech is due, or experiencing the racing heartbeats when a social gathering is unavoidable. Empathy allows us to connect on a deeper level, to provide comfort, and to assure individuals they are not alone in their fight against social anxiety. We also rely on scientifically backed strategies to help combat social anxiety. This includes cognitive behavioral therapy, mindfulness techniques, and even lifestyle changes. Our aim is to provide a toolbox of strategies that individuals can use to manage their anxiety and reclaim their lives. The Zenith Zone is a reservoir of resources. We offer a plethora of information, tools, and techniques to help individuals navigate their journey through social anxiety. From informative videos and blog posts to online support groups and one-on-one consultations, we are here to empower and support. Our ultimate aim is to empower individuals. We want to equip them with the knowledge, skills, and confidence to take back control of their lives from social anxiety. We want them to realize that they are more than their anxiety, that they are capable, strong, and resilient. Together, we can make a difference. Let's start the conversation about social anxiety and change lives, one video at a time. We believe that every conversation, every shared story, and every moment of understanding brings us one step closer to a world where social anxiety is not a silent struggle, but a shared journey towards happiness and mental health.